All right, let us dive into Unit 6 of Compensation and Rewards Management, the legal framework around wages. Now, I know the word legal might make some of you want to take a power nap, but don't worry. I promise this session won't feel like a court case from any TV serial. I will try to keep it light, practical, and also exam friendly in this rapid roundup. Now, let us begin with the basic idea. What exactly is a wage? Is it just about your salary that gets credited to your bank account at the end of the month? No. Legally, wages have many layers like minimum wage, fair wage, statutory wage, then living wage, need based minimum wage, all sorts of things. And understanding these is not only useful for us HR professionals, but also for making sure that workers are treated fairly. In fact, India has a strong legal framework and wage regulation, mostly to protect employees from exploitation and to ensure that their basic needs are met. So, what exactly is a minimum wage? Think of it as a legal benchmark, a floor below which an employers are not allowed to go. Sort of like you shall not pass less than this. It's defined under the Minimum Wages Act of 1948 and it is set by the government depending on the job, industry, as well as the region. Now, there is also something called as the statutory minimum wage, which is simply the legally enforceable minimum wage, like a government mandated version of the bare minimum. You don't pay this penalty, pakka. Then we have the bare subsistence wage. This covers only the absolute basics, enough food to stay alive, a roof that doesn't leak too much, maybe bus fare to work. That's it. Basic subsistence. It is like when you're broke at the end of the month and you're surviving on Maggie and chai. Sometimes we even look, under the sofas to get 1 or 2 rupees so that we have 10 rupees to drink chai. There used to be one time like that. Not anymore, thankfully. But we don't want people to just survive, do we? That is where living wage comes in. This is a wage that allows a decent standard of living, not luxury, but dignity. It includes food, housing, healthcare, transportation, maybe even an occasional movie or a birthday gift for your kids. The Indian Constitution doesn't directly promise a living wage, but under the directive principles of state policy, the government is encouraged to ensure just and humane conditions of work. So there is a so that there is a moral and judicial support for it, though it is not directly promising it. Now let us look at fair wage. Okay, this one sits in between what you can say minimum wage and living wage. So it is more than survival, but it doesn't yet reach full comfort. So the Supreme Court in the famous Hindustan Times Limited versus their workmen case, which was fought in 1953, Supreme Court said in relation to that particular case, they said that fair wage should roughly match the need based minimum wage, which includes essentials required for a decent life. So yes, even the courts have weighed in on what is fair pay for fair work. Speaking of need based minimum wage, the Indian Labour Conference in their 15th session, that happened in 1957, introduced this concept. It considers things like food, clothing, housing, children's education, medical care, and even a bit for entertainment and savings. So it is like budgeting for a middle class Indian family, reasonably tight but humane. Now, here's a fun fact, okay? Across different labor laws, the wage the term wage is defined differently. Yeah, same word, different meanings. Like, say, for example, under the Payment of Wages Act, which was introduced in 1936, wages included salary, allowances, bonuses, commissions, and all. But under the Minimum Wages Act, it includes all the cash based benefits except the house rent allowance. Add to that the Payment of Bonus Act and Equal Remuneration Act, and you can imagine how confusing it is going to get. It is like every restaurant giving you a different version of masala dosa. Mm. Now, to solve all this, the government passed the wage code in 2019. This was a very big move to simplify and harmonize all these different definitions of wages under all these various acts. So, this code consolidates the four major wage related laws into one single code. Which are the four major wage related acts? Or laws which got consolidated. It is the Payment of Wages Act, Minimum Wages Act, Payment of Bonus Act, and Equal Remuneration Act. So under this new code, wages include basic pay, dearness allowance, that is DA, and retaining allowance. Simple, clear. Other things like HRA, bonuses, and overtime may be excluded up to a certain limit. So this uniformity makes life easier for HR managers, legal officers, and even the government inspectors. No more guessing games now. So let us look at how wages are defined in these four different acts and how it is now defined as per the wage code. So in according to Payment of Wages Act, wage means all remuneration that can be expressed in money which is payable to an employee if the terms of employment are fulfilled. So it includes allowances, benefits, but it excludes bonuses, value of accommodation, employer's contribution to pension or PF, or gratuity. All of these things are excluded. Similarly, Minimum Wages Act, according to this, wage means all remuneration in money that is payable to an employee if the terms of employment are fulfilled. It includes house rent allowance, but it excludes the value of accommodation, utilities, employer's contribution to pension or PF. So here, when I say excludes PF, I mean the employer's contribution to PF or pensions, the gratuity, all sorts of things. Coming to the Payment of Bonus Act, here wage means all remuneration, including basic pay and dearness allowance capable of being expressed in money, but it excludes allowances like HRA or overtime, bonus, and commission. As per the Equal Remuneration Act, wage means all remuneration, whether it is in money or kind, payable to an employee if the terms of employment are fulfilled. So it includes everything: basic pay, allowances, other benefits, all sorts of things are there. And these four different definitions of wages, when the four acts were combined into the wage code, is now defined as wage means all remuneration, whether it is by salary, allowance, or otherwise, expressed in money and payable for employment, including basic pay, dearness allowance, and retaining allowance, but excluding bonuses, value of accommodation, employer's PF or pension contribution, conveyance allowance, HRA, overtime, commission, and gratuity. So these four used to be, now it is this. Wages means all remuneration, whether it is by salary, allowances, or otherwise, has to be expressed in money and payable for employment, including basic pay, dearness allowance, and retaining allowance, but excluding bonuses, value of accommodation, employer's PF or pension contribution, conveyance allowance, HRA, overtime, commission, and gratuity. All right. So, this wage code, it is not just about legal simplification, it also improves the enforcement and also the better fairness also it ensures. Imagine a pan-Indian company, okay, it is trying to follow all these 10 different definitions of wages across 10 states. It's going to be very difficult for the HR department, right? And for the company. But with this new code, this new wage code introduced in 2019, there is one clear standard. It also helps in generating consistent labor data also for policy making. Of course, there are challenges. Challenges remain. Even though the law is now cleaner, implementation is going to depend on how fast the states adopt this code and notify the rules. Also, while minimum wages are great, we still have to ask, are they enough in today's times? when even a samosa cost 20 rupees, right? Speaking of samosa, how much does one samosa cost at your place? My area, it is around, it can range anywhere between 16, 17 to 20 rupees, depending upon which place I buy. Some size difference is also there, I guess. So comment down below how much does a samosa cost at your place, okay? Just so that we all know. We can compare and maybe even team up. So, for exams, here is what you have to remember. You need to know the definitions and the differences between minimum wage, fair wage, living wage, and all. You need to understand how institutions like the Indian Labour Conference and the Supreme Court have interpreted the wages, and these what is a minimum wage, what is fair wage, living wage, and all, how Indian Labour Conference and the Supreme Court have interpreted them. You need to be very clear about the wage code of 2019. Okay, how what it says about wage, how it simplifies the previous laws. These things you have to be very clear about. And if you are asked about the practical challenges, then you can mention things like lack of uniformity before the code, or complexity in the compliance with all the different laws, and the need for effective enforcement. So these are the challenges. So to wrap, so that is a wrap on the legal side of compensation. I know it might have been a bit heavy on definitions and all, but trust me, knowing this stuff will give you a good advantage. You are not just managing salaries, but you are also going to be ensuring fairness, legality, and dignity for the workforce. Now, let me go get a samosa while you like, share, and subscribe to Anu's Classroom. See you in the next video. Happy learning.